Raz. Okay, could you please tell me if you can hear me? Okay, let's start this. I have a very interesting setup here today, I think. This was quite complicated to set up, so I'll explain what I have here. First, I have a camera on me. Yay! Hi everyone. It's nice to see you. This is my camera from my laptop, so I'm sorry for the quality of the image. I also have a USB camera set up here, so I can show you my set of watercolors and how I mix stuff today. And also I have my main camera set up here to show you what I'm drawing and painting. And also I have the reference that we'll use today. So this is, I think, the most elaborate setup I have done so far during a Q&A. And okay, so I would like first to show you the book. So here is the Tokyo at Night, and this is the real version, so not the how do you say it, not the dummy anymore. So this is the real book, and we will give out two of these books today, and they will be accompanied by such postcards which are printed especially for the promotion of the book. So I got just a bit of a few of these, and you will also get something here. You will also get this maps which are also printed for the promotion of the book, and these are the maps that are in the book also. So if you buy the book, you will have these. But this is like a map that you can take with you and go around Tokyo to follow the path that we took during the location hunting sessions. So this is like a special thing that was put with the books when you bought it on the premiere day. So I got few of these also, so I'll just put them inside of the book, like inside. Okay. So I think I'll do the giveaway first. I'll just go through some news first, but I don't want the people who will look at this or the recording of this to look for the book. I think she likes it. かなちゃん、僕のヒゲどう思うの?
So cute.
So cute, she says. So yeah, she likes it. Some wind here because it's getting hot. Okay, so first some news. I will be doing the Inktober this year. I already started with some stuff. I'll show you. This year I'll be using these brush pens, which are the same, just the color is different. So these are Kuretake brush pens, which actually I tested a lot of methods of doing the Inktober. I'm not really good at drawing with only lines. I really like this kind of style of illustrations, but I'm not really good at it. And when I tried to do some like this kind of awesome like buildings and stuff. I could not do it. So I tried some different tools, and in the end I decided to use these. And I'll be posting videos throughout Inktober. I will be trying to do like every day a painting, like a drawing with ink. So I already started on some stuff, so I can show you only for exclusive Patreon Q&A preview of Inktober 2011. So 2019. So let's just imagine we are a week into Inktober. I already did that. I cannot speak today. I already made some illustrations to have a head start, stuff like this, and these are all drawings from our trip to Hokkaido with Kana that we had. And when I finish all the 31 drawings for Inktober, I will be making a small zine from this, so you'll be able to buy it on the upcoming online store. So this is all like black and white, only with these brush pens and with some black ink and with just regular brushes. So this is a completely new thing for me, and this is a bit of an adventure, but I hope you'll like it. I'm kind of enjoying doing these because they are like so new for me, and yeah, I think it's a great thing to do during the Inktober, just to learn. Okay, so the book is out. I already participated in some events selling the book in Kinokuniya, doing signs, and in T-site in Daikanyama. There were not so many people coming to the T-site in Daikanyama. This is like a big bookstore, and I think that's because the book is still not so popular in Japan. The previous book is not so popular in Japan. A lot of you have been buying them on Amazon JP, so the Amazon says that they're like 2 months behind schedule on the book, so thank you very much. I think that it's just what they say on the website, but because the publisher printed a lot of copies of this book, more than the first print of Tokyo Storyfront, so there should be enough books for Amazon to sell. And also thanks to you buying the books from outside of Japan, the Kinokuniya in US and in few other countries also ordered a lot of copies of this book, so that's great to hear. And I was surprised that the Kinokuniya in I think the Kinokuniya in Osaka, which is weird, ordered like 300 copies, which was just a crazy amount. So I don't know why, but yeah, I'm thank you. And the experience was like in the Kinokuniya was really nice because a lot of you turned out, a lot of you who also like follow me on the on Instagram, and few of you that follow me on YouTube just turned out and were like, oh, we follow you here and there, and finally we can get your sign. But there were also some kind of random people going around and just stopping and looking, so that was okay. But in Daikanyama there were like few of you who actually follow me online and came for the sign, but then it was like empty and no one there for 2 hours, so that was a bummer. But I think that just the Daikanyama shop was not a good place to do the signing, so I would really like to try to do a signing, for example in the US or somewhere in Europe. Next year I'll be in Paris for an event like the master class thing. So maybe we can do like a small meetup or something. I'll still have to think about that, but yeah, it just depends how many of you are in Paris also. So the event in Tokyo was really small because 70% of you who follow me online are outside of Japan, I think. So yeah. Okay, so from other news, I also recently, because I finished the book and I would like to do some more sketching and painting and doing also stuff outside, we decided to buy this thing, which is the gimbal thing from Osmo, which should allow me to do some additional footage also in 4K, and it looks weird. So if it's it's getting a bit cooler now outside, so I'll be able to go outside, do some sketching, maybe do some painting, drawing, instead of filming everything with my cell phone or this huge camera here. I will be able to take this and do some footage with this, but I still have to figure a way to put it on a tripod, so you'll be able to see some additional new 4K probably footage with this small thing. I'm still not good at using it, so I'll have to study it a bit more. But it's a weird little device thing. Okay, so I think that these of you who will be joining us today are here. So let's do the book thing. I'll be giving 2 books, the Tokyo at Night books with the set of the postcard things, and also I'll send I think 2 or 3 postcards as a bonus thing. So how we are doing the giveaway today. I have a list of all of you here who commented. These are only your nicknames, so these are the same as your nicknames on Patreon. And I have a device here, which is just my iPhone, and you have numbers from 1 to 82, and this also should choose randomly numbers from 1 to 82. So I just press this button and it will randomize and it will choose one person from this list, which is good, because you can see that all of you are here. From what I saw in the comments, there were 82 comments that said I want Tan. I hope I didn't miss anyone. I don't think I did, but okay. Okay, so let's do this. Dun, 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 dun. We'll put the button, and it's number 35. Yay! So the first book goes to 35, Saskia. Yay! Okay. Congratulations on the Tokyo at Night book. And the second book. Let's push the button again. And it goes to number 26, which is Rins. Yay! Yay! Sorry to everyone who didn't get it. I'm sorry, but let's do the consolatory prize. I will send the postcards also with dedications. Okay, so this is book. This is book. Okay, so number 36. So here, postcard. This goes to Michael. Yay. And this is weird. 37 to Abe Levy, and 49 to Jim McDougall. So these 3 are getting postcards. Sorry, I didn't have it on the. So here. Okay, so the book goes to Rins and Saskia, and the postcards go to Michael and Abe and Jim, number 49. Congratulations! I will contact you about if you want to have anything written on these, or like dedications and something. I will do a small drawing with white ink here on the black paper of the book, so you will get both a small drawing, but you have to tell me what do you want on the dedication thing. Okay. So I have some questions to answer today, but I'll answer them while I draw. I will be drawing the things that we are here for today. So this is the building that I'll be drawing today. I will be explaining my color choices while I draw, and this will be not like really detailed, but I want to do the front of this shop in the kind of Tokyo Storyfront style. I hope we can manage to do it like in an hour and a half or something like that, so I'll be kind of rough with it, but yeah. And to show you the reference, this is the reference picture. This is one of pictures we took with Kana while we were in Hokkaido. So this is like a small shop we found in Hokkaido, and for this I'll be using this small set here. So this is the small watercolor set. I wanted to use something simple so you can follow it in your home if you want to. So you can kind of recreate this small set. These are Mijello watercolors, but you can use any watercolor set for this because these are really basic colors. I will show you in a second. So let me switch to my main camera. So we have a really simple set of colors. So we have the lemon yellow, which is this one, and this is a nice kind of cool yellow, which I have for this set because I wanted a set that is good for mixing colors. So I have a really set of really basic colors here. So I have a cool yellow, which is the lemon yellow. I have the, which they call green gold, which is kind of a more warm yellow. I really like this color for making greens. I have yellow ochre, which is the standard thing. I'm kind of disappointed that it's not more transparent, but it's an opaque color, but it's also one pigment, so it's good for mixing. I have the permanent yellow deep, which is the kind of orangish yellow for this set. So these four colors give me a lot of mixing opportunities for making interesting colors. By the way, if you have any questions about what I'm kind of explaining, just don't be afraid to ask. I have some questions for today about which I'll be speaking while doing the Q&A, but if you have any questions about the things that I'm doing here, just you can just ask. Okay, so I have my list of questions here. Okay. So okay, we have the permanent yellow deep, and we have two reds. In a set like this, when I have to mix a lot of colors, because I have only few of them here, I like to have two reds. So I have this kind of yellow red, which is a permanent red deep in this set, and more kind of bluish red, which is the rose mother. And blues, I have to have few blues so I can mix greens and other stuff with them. So here I have a cerulean blue, I have phthalo blue, which is kind of between those two, and ultramarine. In this set there's a ultramarine light only, so I chose this one. And I like to have kind of reddish brown color to mix my grays, so neutral tones. So I have this red brown, original name, and I have a Van Dyke brown, which is also really good for mixing. And here I have white, which is just like this white watercolor. Because I'm trying to use this set to paint outside, I have some white here, so I can add white to some colors and make some opaque touches on top of the watercolor painting. So I have a bonus white color here in the set. Okay, so if you want to remember the names of the colors I have here, you can do like a screenshot with the names. I will zoom in a bit so you can see. And these are colors that you can just buy, I think, in any maker, because these are really popular colors. Maybe the green gold is a bit unusual, but most of them are really just simple colors. Okay, so I have all of these in this like really small set, USB camera, which can be used outside. This is like a what Winsor & Newton box that Kana is not using anymore, so I took it. Where's my paper? Okay, and for the paper I'll be using this Waterford white. I want to do a quick sketch, and I'm really used to this paper, so we will be using this one here. Okay, so I have my reference photo here. I'll show you a bit. Okay, so let's first sketch this really quick. Just pencil, and let's do it. I'll try to do it here in the like left side of the paper, so on the right we can do some color mixes and test some colors. Okay, so while I'm sketching, I'll be answering some of the questions that you had. Let me see if it is in focus. Yes, it is. Okay, so first question is from Kaneki Shiba. So Didier Clark. I'm sorry. Was this book harder to do than the first one? Okay, in some ways this book was harder than the first one. I'm talking about the Tokyo at Night. Mostly because okay, first the paintings were really difficult. So the paintings themselves were difficult. I had to figure out a way how to paint them without like with keeping the style that I wanted. And that was actually really difficult because I wanted the shadows to be like blue shadows, and I wanted the sky to be like really even and dark. I wanted the lines to be the same color as the shadows, and I wanted the lines to be like deep blue and not to be like just black lines as I did in the first book. So I could not just use the same tools that I used for the first book, like Rapidograph and just black ink. I knew that these tools would be the best for just quickly sketching stuff and getting things done, but this time I wanted to spend a bit more time to figure out the tools and to figure out the style of the paintings, and just to do something different. I like to do something different. I wanted to do something different after the first book, not just like Tokyo Storyfronts 2, because that would be just boring, not only for you probably, but more boring for me. I don't like to do stuff that I kind of find boring, and it doesn't how do you call it, excite me in any way. So I wanted to do something new, and I wanted to do something that would challenge me. But of course, when this is something challenging, then of course there are some difficulties, and it's more, there are some difficulties that I have to overcome. So it was difficult from the technical point of view. I had to find some tools that I didn't know how to do some things. For example, the blue ink, I looked for it for I think a month or two. I tried different tools like Faber-Castell pens that went just the tip went really wild after painting, just like drawing off like half a line art for a painting. So I was stuck in with a problem what to do with the line work for some time. Actually, I couldn't find anything that would work well enough. And then I found the blue black ink, which allowed me to do this style of drawing that was similar to the Japanese woodblock prints, a bit closer. So I used this one, but of course the ink, I had to find a paper that would work with the ink, and so on and so on. So every aspect of the paintings was difficult, maybe except the watercolors, because I used the set that I was really used to. But yeah, it was technically difficult. But also it was difficult because in the previous book I was just doing stuff that I liked. So it also contained like 10 paintings from the original Tokyo Storefront series of illustrations that I knew worked. So they were already there on the internet, and a lot of people liked them, and a lot of people bought them. A lot of people bought the prints, and a lot of people bought the goods and stuff. So I knew that if I do just more of these, the book should be popular enough so it sells, and the publisher should allow me to make a second one, for example. So yeah, I was kind of safe in the meaning that, okay, I know that if I paint more of these, the publisher will be happy and the book will sell and everything will be good. So it was kind of a safe bet. So it was a psychologically more easy thing for me to do, because I knew that the paintings will work. I just had to search for more stories that I can put into the series. So that was easy. But with Tokyo at Night, I didn't know if the thing will work. So I was aware of the fact all the time that I could paint like 40 paintings and make them into a book and spend a year on this project, and then it will not sell. I knew that the Tokyo at Night illustrations were okay. I knew that they were like high quality and that some people liked them, but it was not like the overall kind of hit viral thing like the first Tokyo Storefronts illustrations. So it was kind of mentally stressful for me, because I was doing a book that I didn't 100% knew that would be something that will sell or not, or even if the publisher will want it or not. So even at the level when I was like talking with the publisher, I didn't know if they will make it or not. So it was a big kind of how do you call it, question mark in many places. So it was a challenge. And of course, like the theme was also a bit challenging because as I said, in the first book I did illustrations of things that I liked around Tokyo. So I just had my stores and they were cute and I knew that everyone likes them. So I can just paint some of them and everyone will be happy and the book will sell. But here I myself was not sure if I liked the scenes that I was painting. So I don't really like Tokyo like as a whole. I don't think it's kind of beautiful or like city that is like, oh, I'm in awe with. It's just a city that has its good sides and ugly sides. And as an artist, the ugly side of the city is probably more visible to me. So if I just walk around during the day, I think what an ugly city, and I don't really like it. But in the night, it still kind of has this a bit magical kind of aspect to me. So I thought that, well, maybe if I paint it in the night and if I kind of attack this aspect of the city, well, maybe I can make a book that contains some scenes that are visually interesting, and I can make a book that's kind of true to what I think about the city at the same time. So I tried to kind of approach the city from this angle, and I think it worked. I'm still not sure about the city itself, but I like the paintings that I did, so I think it's a success in this meaning. But I still don't like the city so much. There are some aspects of it that I like and some places that I like, but as a whole, I don't think it's a kind of a good place that I can just recommend. Oh, Tokyo is a great city, but yeah, I just had to do this project to kind of confirm what, as a whole, I think about the city. So yeah, it was difficult. It was difficult from various reasons and from various angles, and it's still difficult because even though I did the paintings and even though I finished the book and even though I finished the English, which was also difficult for me because there was a lot more of it this time, and we had to do the Japanese, which was also difficult this time, and we had to do the design for the book, which was difficult because the book is so dark, and we had to print the book, which was also difficult because the paintings and everything is so dark in it. So we had to figure out some ways of printing it so it looks okay on the paper. I'm still not kind of fully satisfied with the quality of the print, so maybe it will get better in the second printing because we did some adjustment, but for now it's okay. I think it looks good. So like almost every aspect of the book like was difficult. For example, in the first book, in Tokyo Storyfronts, all the storefronts, almost all the storefronts were on one page. So there was not a problem of the illustration being too big, so it goes like over 2 pages. There were only like few illustrations of the shop insides that were like too big, so they didn't fit on the page. So we had to like split them. But in this book, like almost all the 70% of the illustrations are too big to fit on one page. So we had to So we had to make the pages open in a way that would allow you to see the full picture, which was also difficult. We had to like choose one of the more difficult like bindings for the book, and that also meant that the book will be more expensive, so we can use the money that we could use on the book to make it more interesting, like on some like special printing and stuff techniques. We could not do it because we didn't have the money, and so on and so on. So like every aspect of the book was a bit like a pain in the ass actually. I'm pleased about the end result. I think it's a nice kind of follow up to the first book, and I'm pleased about it in this way. I would like I wanted the book to be more kind of a standalone thing that can be just seen as just the one thing. So I'm kind of sad that it didn't work like that so much. It's more like a follow up. If you put them, the first book and the second book on a shelf like next to each other, they look like a like first part, second part. So that was actually something I didn't want, but it turned out this way because of the printing techniques and stuff. So yeah, there are some things that I'm pleased about, and there are some things that I'm not. But the book was difficult, so I'm happy that we managed to finish it. Okay, I will show you the reference file for a second. Here are the letters. There is the barber pole thing. I'm not trying to make it like so accurate, but just to get the overall feel of the thing. There's one letter here that's missing. There's one like a shadow of it. As I said like few times in my videos, the lettering in pictures like this is kind of important. It's nice to get the letters right, because with nice lettering the picture looks a lot more realistic. Like the things that if you look like at the animation, for example, background, and it looks kind of weird and flat, mostly it's because like the signs and stuff in it are just too unnatural and painted like I just put something there. Okay, more or less like this. Let's move this letter a bit to the right. Okay, so let's now put some line work to this, so we can paint on it with watercolors. It's really hot here. Okay, if you have any questions, just ask me on the chat, and I'll answer, and I'll talk about the second thing that was asked. SD asks, do you have still plans, to sell autographed Tokyo at Night books on the new online store, and did those plans change? Okay, so I was trying to get the Tokyo Storefronts book and the Tokyo at Night book onto the DFTBA store that I'm planning to launch. I already sent them some products, and we are making some products for the store, like masking tape and some clear files and some other things, but also I sent them some original prints that are like limited prints that are signed, and we also have some other plans, but the main thing I wanted to sell there were books, so the Tokyo Storefronts and Tokyo at Night with signs, but the negotiations with my publisher turned to be bit more difficult than I expected, because the publisher is owned by a bigger company that is called Impress. This is actually a group of publishing houses in Japan, and they have their own kind of connections to bookstores and distributors of books outside of Japan, and they told the people at DFTBA that if they would like to just buy the books, they would have to buy the books from the distributor in US, for example. So they cannot just kind of circumnavigate, like go around this distributor and buy like 300 books or whatever from the publisher in Japan. They have to go through the like official, just usual channels in US or something, and that would mean that we would have to buy the books at a price that is similar to just buying the book at the store, which gives us absolutely no incentive on like kind of reselling the book on the DFTBA store. So I don't think that the signed books will happen. Maybe something will kind of change in the policy of the publisher and the distributor, but to be honest, we don't think so. Like in Japan, these kind of connections between companies and kind of rules, like insider rules that have to be kind of protected, are really hard to change, and I don't think I can do anything about it. Actually, I thought that because there is no like direct route of selling the books into Europe and US, they will be happy to have just like a store selling and buying the books like every month or something, but they're kind of happy to sell less of the books but use the channels that they already have. So this is weird and kind of actually annoying for me, because I just would like to get you the books that are signed or not signed, just so you can buy it on Amazon US, for example, or whatever. But it's proving kind of difficult. So to compensate for that, I will be making the ink drawing book that I showed you, like the drawings for on the start of this stream, and these will be printed by me. So I'll be paying for the print, and these will be printed in Japan on good paper, using good print quality, and all of them will be shipped to me first. So all the copies will be shipped, are planned to ship to me, and then I'll be able to sign all of them and send them like in bulk to the FTBA. So you'll be able to buy them signed from the online store that we are planning to open. I don't know when this will happen because I still have to do this small book. I already have 5 of the 30 pictures done. I think I'll be able to finish the pictures next month maybe, and then putting the book together will take me a bit of time, but I'm hopeful to make the whole thing before the end of the year maybe. So it's really a bummer because I really wanted to have the signed books so you can just buy them really easily, but it's proving to be a bigger kind of logistical and copyright and distribution right conundrum than I expected. And to be honest, I'm kind of angry about that. Because I really counted that most of my fans and my supporters, like you, are not in Japan. So I think that the book would sell and a lot better if it would be distributed also, like not only in Japan but also in the US, for example. But because the book already contains English language, there's not any like American, for example, publishing house that would be interested in making like English language version, because it already contains English language. So it's difficult. But on the more positive side, there is a Taiwanese version, so it contains Taiwanese and English language versions. I'm not really sure what's the difference like there, and there's also a Chinese version which contains the Chinese and English text in the book. So you can buy them like really easily in China and Taiwan if you are from there, for example. And from what I'm said, there is also a French version planned of the Tokyo Storyfronts, which should have a French and English text. So that would be like probably the most accessible version for all European readers, that you would just be able to buy and have a French and English text in one book, which is kind of useful. So when this version will be out, you should be able to buy it like in Europe, for example, really easily. But I still don't know when it will be. I already signed the contract for the French version, but it can take a bit of time before it gets translated and printed, so I'm still waiting for it. Okay, so I'm doing the line work. I'm going pretty fast, I think, with this. Okay. Will there be a second manga? I liked the first. It left me wanting more of the story. The ending was great. Thank you. There will be more comics. I want to do more. I don't know if I'll do a continuation of the story. Maybe someday I will, but for now I want to do something new. I have some ideas for new stories, but yeah, I want to do something a bit different. But yeah, I want to get better in writing the story, because I think that was the um, one of the things that were kind of weak still in the Yuragi comic. So I want to get better at writing stories. So I'm reading some stuff about story making, and I'm on a course in story making also. So maybe I'll be able to get better at this and make something that's more interesting. I also learned a lot from the first comic, I guess. There are some things that you figure out when you finish a story like this. So I think I figured out some things when I finished Yuragi, and for the next story I would like to make things better. So I don't think Baruch Ban Avraham, sorry, says I would love to move to Japan, but I'm too old to find work in my field. I don't know what field it is, but I don't think that there's like a strict age limit to anything actually. But yeah, now um, in Japan the rules are changing a bit. There is like this economic stagnation thing that is happening, and the views on the taxes and all kinds of things are not so great. Maybe if you really would like to live in Japan, you can, I think, try. There are some ways to work with Japanese companies from outside of Japan too, but I think there are still a lot of like positive sides about this country, that so you can live here and work here. Maybe it will get less difficult to get a visa or something like working visa in the near future because of the Olympics and stuff. And also Japanese companies are getting a bit more comfortable with hiring foreigners, I think. But yeah, it's still difficult. Even I said myself, I don't know if I'll be living in Japan for like how long. Like I feel good here, and there are a lot of great things about living in Japan, but I don't know if this is like my last place to live, that I'll just live here and that's it. I kind of got comfortable here, so that's a problem. But aerospace, like engineering things, awesome. Are there any genre? You say genre that I'm interested in my future comics? There are some things that I like. For example, I'm a really big fan of Neil Gaiman, or yeah, Neil Gaiman. Uh, and it's a really big shame that in Japan he's not so well known. There are not really even like translations of his books to Japanese. So there are only like 2-3 books that you can read in Japanese of his works. I would like to do some stories that are kind of half real, half fiction kind of things that are based in Japan, maybe not like ghosts and stuff like Atelier Sento does, like modern retellings of old Japanese like stories or something, but something that is more based in like modern reality but has a bit of like this kind of Neil Gaiman-ish weirdness to it, for example. That is more or less what I did in Yuragi also, but I think of it as a first like not really well made step in this direction. Maybe I'll be better in the next one. So I would like to do something like Yuragi, but a better try. But also I'm kind of interested in just modern Japan and like showing things not directly, but showing things that I think are good, and showing things that I think are kind of need a bit more thought in here also. I would like to be a kind of positive force in this weird kind of world where the comic and animation themes are going in like a strange direction. I'm talking about like this trend for comics and animations to be directed at adult fans of comics and animation. So you see all this kind of stuff that is more adult oriented and cruel. It has a lot of like cruelty and adult oriented themes, and which are not really kind of true and not enriching in any way. It's more entertainment than anything else. I don't know how to explain it actually. It's like I was talking with a friend that is an animation director, a friend like a person I know, and I was talking about how every show on Netflix recently that is made, and even like anime or whatever, it has a lot of kind of this cruelty, and even like the Dark Crystal kind of remake was full of really like kind of cruel and disturbing scenes. And he was like, oh yeah, we are making an animation series which has a lot of kind of cruelty and in it, and is really adult oriented. So I was like, oh, okay, so this is not a trend that I thought is there, but it's a real thing that is happening. So I don't know, I would like to do something that could kind of counteract this. Okay, so we have the lines. I'll show you the reference while I erase here. Yeah. So in a way, I'm interested in showing like modern Japan, but through lens of a bit fantastic stories, maybe. Okay, so I managed to smudge it here. Okay. So this is the base drawing. Let me put a bit more light in it, like this. Okay, so we have the paints here, and I have the name of the paints. So when I choose a color, I will try to tell you what color it is, and also I'll try to show you how I mix stuff here as much as I can. I can switch between these kind of fast, so yeah, I wanted to do something that's similar to the Tokyo Storyfronts. So I chose a perspective that's more like from the front, and it's more easier for me to color it and make it a bit fast so I can show it to you. Okay, so first we will do the pink of the wall and the pinkish frame of the doors in the front and the shutters, and also the kind of bluish background that is for the letters for the sign. These are the colors that are the most kind of pale in this shop front, so I'm trying to do, I will do this first. I'm not going to pay attention to the thing that in this reference photo the whole front is in shadow, so I'll kind of try to reimagine the colors more brighter, more vivid, so then I can put the shadow like under the, how do you call it, owing, under the roof and under the front letters, so it looks more 3D. Okay, so I'll show you here. So I'll paint this hole in kind of bright colors, and then I'll add shadows here under the roof and here under this small roof, and probably to the left side here, or to the right side. Let's make to the right side. If I make it to the right side, I can put a shadow here also, so it will make everything more 3D. And then I'll put a shadow here from the chimney thing, and also I can put a shadow here under this, and from this barber pole here. So this will be all nicely and three-dimensional, and I can also put a shadow on this thing here. So I need a nice bluish color for this part here, and nice pinkish color for this part here first, and then we will paint some kind of brick looking things on the wall in the front. As you can see, it has a nice texture, and then we can add all the darker details at the next step. Okay, so first let's mix in some I'll take a kind of largish brush. This is number what, 10? Yeah, I think it's okay. And let's mix in some pink. I'll use the red brown. There still is some trash from the eraser. Okay, so let's use a bit of the red brown. If I make it really thin, it makes this kind of pinkish color, so it's a nice base. But I want to add a bit more red to it, so I'll add this rose madder and see what happens. These are really intensive colors from the One Pigment series. Oh yeah, this looks okay. I have to water it down really a lot. More. Yeah, something like this. Maybe a bit more. Okay. So while painting here, I'm trying to show that this is also like pieces of wood. So I try to do these strokes, like vertical strokes, so we can see that each piece is separate. This is really nice bright and not intensive pink, so it's good, I think, for this. And it's not in focus. Now it is. And I'll paint also this part. We are leaving the shadow for later, so now I'm just doing the flat color here. You could use a flat square brush for this if you have this size of brush. But I actually like that in some places the boards will be separate and in some places they will kind of meet, so it gives this kind of a bit of randomness to this. Like Kana drawing and me narrating, or what, or like me drawing and Kana narrating in Japanese, or Kana like doing characters. So I'm just using the same color here. You can probably hear my computer going like really loud on the fans because it has 3 cameras. Okay, I'll ask her.かなちゃん、今度さ、かなちゃんが書いてる間に生放送して、で僕が英語でなんか説明するっていうのをちょっと見たいって。Okay, Kana says, yeah, why not? What would you like to see her do, like characters or like comic? Okay, so we have this part. I like to leave this kind of gaps here, and so it's not even, and some of these are darker than the rest, so we get this a bit of natural kind of effect. And I also color in pink all the other parts that have to be in pink, so I'll water this color down a bit more and color this part, for example. キャラクターイラストはいいなって。 Okay, we will think about it and maybe we will do it in the next Q&A or something, or maybe like a YouTube open live stream so more people can see it. It would be nice for Kana to get also a bit of followers, because even though her movies of the people eating things are kind of popular, she doesn't have still a lot of people following her work on the Instagram, not Instagram but YouTube, so that could be a nice chance for her also to get some attention. Yay. Okay, so I'm still using the same color, I'm just watering it down a bit more for the frame here. Okay, and also here the window, the inside of the window, the glass will be more dark, like a dark blue color, so for making the contrast here I'm trying to paint it with the pink being watered down a lot. Okay, so now we have this part. I'll paint the part that's in the middle, so we want to paint the part here, but first I want to use a watered down blue color to paint this letter which is missing. So if you see here, we have this letter in the middle, in the right side, that is missing, and it has to be a lighter color than the rest of the thing. So let's first mix a nice kind of bluish color, and I think I'll use this pink here that I have as a base, and I'll try to mix a bit of ultramarine maybe and into it and see what happens. Let's see. Okay, this is like a red pinkish blue, so let's add a bit more of cerulean blue. I don't know how to pronounce it. かなちゃんがユーモアのセンスがいいだから、なんか生でも見たいだって。なんかプラハでの動画とかのがすごく可愛かっただから、今度生放送やってくださいって。Okay, so we'll do it. I'll let you know on Patreon when it will be. Probably we will do it like as an open stream for everyone to see and enjoy. Okay, that's a nice idea. Thank you. Okay, so I have this blue here. I think it's close enough to what I want. Let's switch to the how do you switch it? Okay, so first I'll paint this letter here. Oh yeah, this is a really watered down color, so it's good for this. So I'll paint this part, and then while I wait for this to dry, I'll use the same blue color for painting in this frames of this store. And because this is metal, frame of the windows and doors, and because this is metal, I'm leaving this white here to show some highlights and how this is made. I'm trying to vary the color a bit while I paint, so I pick it from here, which is more like this pink tinge, so we get this variation here. It's how do you call it? It's important to have a bit of color variation when you use like colors in a lot of places like this, so it doesn't seem like you just you're in the same color and everything is painted with this. So it's important to vary the color a bit from place to place. Okay, let me zoom out a bit. Okay, and now I'll do the vertical thing here. I'll add some rust and stuff later. And some shadow also. I'm still using the same blue and pink mix, just changing it to be more pink or more blue as I go. Okay. Okay, like this for now. And now we can paint this part here with a bit more intensive blue. So I'll just mix in the thing that I have here. Check it. More cerulean. A bit too dark, I guess. Yeah, something like this. Okay. So let's paint it from this side and see what happens. Okay. I'm trying to avoid the letters as well as I can. I will make a shadow under them later to make them more 3D, but we have to leave them white so we can paint them in this kind of golden color. Of course, if I was not doing this live, I would be a bit more precise, I guess, but by the way, we had a bit of a scare today in the morning because we had a fire department and police and the all these emergency services coming to a house near us because there was a fire, but they managed to take care of it really fast, and I think everyone was okay. So we were just standing outside our house and looking if there's any danger, but the fire was put out really quickly. So yeah, a word of thanks to the Japanese fire department today. Okay, so I'm trying to avoid this light blue color here, so we have this image of the letter that was originally here kind of imprinted on the wall. And I'm also trying to change the color of the part here as I go, so it's not the same color all the way. I'm adding more pink as I go to the right, so there's like a slight gradation of color, and this is one of the tricks I use a lot, and it gives a lot of kind of natural feel to a painting. Okay. Okay, and so we have this kind of darker blue here on the brush. We can make it a bit darker even more, and let's see if we have any places that we can just use it. So there is like a mirror of a curtain, so we can see a curtain inside of the shop door. So the base color is about this bluish, so we can just paint it here. I'll show you the reference for a second. So here, let's just paint this part in. Okay, if you have any other questions, let's just let me just know on the chat. Okay, and because we have the blue color, I will add a bit more of the cerulean blue, and we can paint cerulean blue and the ultramarine, and with this color we make it thinner a bit more. And we can paint the window here on the top. Okay. I'm trying to avoid the fence thing here, so we can leave a bit of white and make it look like there's something there and not just the line of the pen. So we have the sky probably mirrored in the glass of the windows. Okay, like this. And because we have this intensive blue color, we can paint this bar here, but we have to make it more neutral. If you look at the reference, it's more like this violet blue neutral color, so let's try to make one. We can use just a bit more of ultramarine. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, and we can mix in some of the pink, maybe add a bit of the red brown here. Too much. More ultramarine. Yeah, a bit more. Cerulean blue. Okay, something like this. And let's get back to the picture. And this is too intensive. Add a bit more water. These paints are really intensive in color. Okay, and if you see the reference photo, it gets more darker on the right, so I'll just make it darker. Okay, and the bar here also is a bit darker. And is there anywhere else we can use this color? Yeah, there's like this part here. And this part here. Okay, and there's like something here. And this maybe. Okay. And there's also like this part beneath the roof here, so the pipe thing that is kind of the same color, so we can use it also here. I'll just add a bit more cerulean blue here to make it more kind of bluish tinge, and we can color this part in. I added some red brown while I was going, so the pipe has a like a small color transition. And let us water the paint down a bit. Color this in. Okay, that's this part done, and this is like an orange color. So let's hit the roof with something so we can start making it more colorful. Okay, so this part here is more like this rust color, so let's try to make something similar. I'll take the red brown and make a nice fresh mix of it, and let's see, is it, I try to make it more orange, so I'll add a bit of this orangish color. This is Permanent Yellow Deep, and let's see what happened. Yeah, let's add a bit red to it. This is okay. Okay, so let's color this. But as you can see on the reference, this rooftop part reflects the sky a bit. So I'll try to make it bluish a bit also. Let's see if we can do it. So first let's paint it a bit like this. And then before it dries, I hope, let's try to add a bit of cerulean blue to it, and let's see what happens. This is interesting. Nah. Pick out the color a bit, and a bit red. Keep it simple. Okay, and I'll use the same color to color this part here. Okay. I did use grids, but I used grids more for transferring the sketch that I did on a smaller paper for to the bigger paper. So it's more that I did a grid to transfer a small sketch, like I did how do you call it, like a thumbnails that were about 8 centimeters long, and to transfer them to a bigger piece of paper I did a grid to help me just with the proportions, but I didn't like grid all the photos or measure the photos. I just did a small thumbnail for each of the paintings to kind of get the hang of the size of things. So I'll use this darker color also here. And I also want to add like this rust effect to the bottom part, so I'll mix some orange to this color. And as you can see on the reference file, it has like a rust stuff on various places in the building, so let's try to add them quickly. Okay, and make this part darker a bit. It's starting to look okay, and let's add a bit of this rust here to this part here, and maybe here. I'm still using the same like brownish color that I made. Okay. And also we can use it for the part, for this part here. I added a bit of blue to it to make it darker. Okay, and let's make a small shadow here. Kind of hard to tell when it's dry or not. Okay. Next, let's dry this a bit. Let's try to do the pipe here. So I have this kind of brownish color. I did it by mixing this part into this part here a bit. So this kind of violetish bluish color, and I can use it here to color in the part of this pipe which is in shadow. So this is really reflective metal, so I try to follow the shape of it to make the part that is in shadow a bit dark, and I try to vary the color as I go. Here it still reflects the building, but here it only reflects the sky and stuff around the building, so I will use more bluish tones to color this part in. Okay. Like this. And we can use also this color for this part here. Okay, and because we have the orange color mixed, so we have this part here mixed, I will try to use it for the roof of the building. It's more kind of violet, so I'll add a bit of not this, wanted to add a bit of ultramarine to it. Ultramarine. So it's this kind of rusty brown color. And I want to paint it so it seems like there are tiles on the roof. I want to travel to Poland next year. What I should see in addition to Warsaw? Okay, so I would recommend going to Krakow. So in Polish it's Kraków, which is the past how do you call it? Capital city of Poland. And also I would recommend to going to Gdańsk, which is really beautiful and old port city on the north of the country, so it's like at the seaside, and these are really two nice cities to visit. and if you want to visit some place that is more closer to nature, I would recommend going to the Lake District, which is, if you look at the map, in the right hand top corner of Poland, and it has a lot of like really huge lakes that you can like rent houses there and spend really nice time like with nature. Okay, so I colored the roof first, so it's not that finished yet, but it's a base. Okay, let's add some blue accents to the pipe here. My camera is going off in a second, I guess, so I'll have to change the batteries. I'll try to finish this fast because we are already like an hour and a half, I think, into the an hour and 40 minutes. Okay, so this is like this kind of metallic effect. Here I'll also add a blue here, and we can add a bit of ultramarine and start adding some details. For example, here inside of the window, I want to make the window reflect the shapes of the bars, so I add some roughly add some shapes of the how do you call it, bars of the thing that is here. Okay, so I'll mix a bit of this pink here with ultramarine to make this kind of bluish pink color, and I think we can use it for some shadows here in this picture. Like this. And this part here. I'll add a bit more cerulean blue to make the shadow more kind of clear and simple. And let's put this point into shadow. When painting shadows like this, I have to remember that, for example, this part of roof is at an angle, so I have to add this angle here to make it angled as it's supposed to. Okay. And let's make this shadow connect to the shadow at the top. I added a bit of pink here, so the shadow changes color while we go up. It's always a bit more interesting if the shadows are double color. water this shadow down a bit with cerulean blue, so it's more lighter at the end. And I'll use pure cerulean blue to water down this edge a bit. So the shadow kind of gets less intensive the lower we get, but I want to make it more intensive here at the top. Okay, and let's also add a bit of shadow. Before that I'll have to change the battery. So I'll show you something like this. Battery change. Poo, poo, poo. Wrong way. Right way. Okay. See? Is it working? Okay. Okay, so I added the shadow here, I added the shadow here, and also want to add the shadow on this side. So where's my brush? I cleaned up the palette a bit so we can mix new colors. I'll use the cerulean blue here and mix a bit of red to it, maybe this red, and a bit of this reddish brown to make this nice pink. And I don't want to kill the color so much, so I'll add a bit of ultramarine also, and let's see what happens. Yeah, this is a nice color for the shadow, I guess. And let's color this part here. Okay. Okay. I'll add a bit of red here so there's a nice variation to the shadow. Something like that. And let's try to do something with the bottom part. Okay. Like this. I have to be kind of fast so this stream doesn't go like in 3 hours or something like that. Okay. And a bit of blue here. There's like a plaque that says the name of the street, so let's mix some nice blue and color this in. Just let's be careful to show that there are some letters on it, so I'll try to leave a bit of white unpainted. Okay, and we can add some darker shadow here inside of the windows to show that they are like 3D. But I'll leave again some white to show that this is like a glass pane. This is also a bit of an experiment for me because I'm not really used to these paints yet. For my Tokyo at Night I used the Schminke set, So recently I have been painting with the Schminke almost all the time, but I want to paint more with these. They have really nice intensive colors, and really are probably better for painting like color intensive things like this. Okay, so let's add some shadow here. And like here. There's like a dark fragment of the wall of the building here. And let's paint this blue. And also I want some green. I don't have green on this palette, so I'll have to mix a bit. I use most of the time the green gold for this, and I can add, for example, the phthalo blue to get a nice green color. With this I can try to paint a bit of these plants in. I could paint this whole and then add shadows, or I can leave a bit and then add shadows on a different with a different color. Now I'm a bit on the run, so I'll just color everything in and then add some shadows to the plant. I try to vary the green a bit, so not every plant is the same color. Most of the times the leaves are a bit different color from plant to plant, so it's good to add a bit of variation. Okay, and let's paint this. I need some kind of neutral blue color, so I'm mixing a bit of the cerulean blue and ultramarine here, so to make it kind of neutral. And I can paint this part here. This is too strong. And let's also use this color to make it more ultramarine, and let's paint this pole things. So there's like a blue and red and blue and red pattern, but it also is kind of reflective, so I'll try to leave a bit of white. Okay, and let's paint the red part. So I'll take a bit of rose madder, but this is too pink, so I'll mix a bit of this red here. Okay, and mix a bit of, or maybe this. And this is a nice dark red. Okay. So again, I'm trying to leave a bit of white in the highlight part and make it red here on the right. Okay, this actually looks good, and I'll make this part of the structure, the support here, darker because it's kind of round. And what else we can do with this color, since we already have it? We can paint the shadow on the letters, but first we have to paint the letters. So let's water it down a bit, and we can paint the bricks maybe. Okay, and I'll mix a bit of the green that we made, and I'll paint this part here because it's like a mossy green color. I'll also add a bit of it to the background. And now I'll make a kind of shadowy green color, mixing some of the blue into this, and I'll add some shadows onto the plants here. Okay. And a shadow underneath here to make it more 3D, and a shadow here-ish. I think it's okay. And since we have this kind of darkish green color, let's try to add some reflections here in the window. Let's try to show that there is something mirrored here in the window, so there's like a probably building on the other side of the road or something, and it's reflecting here in the glass. And there's also a shadow that is cast by the iron blinds on the top, like this, and this part should be in shadow too. And there's a curtain, so I'm kind of making these random shadows to show that there is stuff. Okay, do I have a question still? Okay, Baruch Siles asks, I've done a couple of sketches recently but seem to put too much detail in them, especially in windows and roofs. Oh yeah. What suggestions, tips and tricks do you recommend? Okay, so there are things that you can do to yourself to limit yourself painting too much details. And one, you can paint with smaller size of paper. If you paint with smaller size of paper, you just physically kind of limit yourself from painting too much details in. And this is one of the techniques that I would use when just sketching. So when I sketch and I just want to make a small sketch that maybe I'll use, maybe I won't use, I just want to experiment a bit with the perspective or the composition or whatever, I would do a small sketch that is like 8 centimeters tops. So with this you limit yourself, and even if the sketch is like a failure or you don't like how it came out, you can just start another one without feeling kind of guilty that you lost one day on sketching this and it didn't go anywhere. So one method of kind of limiting yourself is painting smaller, or you can use a bigger brush. Like here for example, I could use a smaller brush to add some details and small things to this painting, but because I wanted to paint it in like 2 hours time, I limit myself to using this one kind of largish brush. This is number 10 I think, so usually I would switch to like a 6 or 4 for some more smaller details and add smaller things to this painting, but here I want to finish it kind of faster than usual, so I use only this one. You can also start from the part of the picture that you want to be the most detailed. Most of the times when you start from the part of the picture that has to have the most details, you still have kind of this energy and you want to paint more and more, so you start from the part that has to have most details. We used to do it in the animation studio when like the foreground has to have a lot of details but the background can be a bit like a blur and it doesn't have to have so much details. We would start painting from the part that has to have the most amount of details. So usually it's the foreground, because if you start just at a random place that you feel like painting and then you go from there, most of the times you just end up doing a lot of details in this part, and then you find yourself, okay, but I have to finish this somehow, and you add less details as you go, and the picture ends up unbalanced. So probably it's good to start from the part that has to have the most details in your painting. There are some other methods probably. I usually do a lot of details in my paintings, so I have to kind of limit myself too. Especially in the Tokyo at night, there were like city scenes that if I would like to, I could spend like 2 weeks on one painting easily. So I had to say to myself, okay, but I have to finish this. So setting yourself a kind of deadline for your painting is also really helpful. So okay, I have to finish this in 3 days or 1 day or 2 hours, and you have to be aware of the time. And if you see, okay, I'm putting too much time into this small detail, you have to be ready to just leave it as it is and just go to another part of the picture that has to be finished. So setting yourself like a time goal is also really helpful sometimes. You can do like this kind of exercises that you see on the internet a lot. So you do a sketch in like 10 minutes, and then you do the same sketch in 30 seconds and 1 minute and 10 seconds to just check how rough you can get in such a small period of time. And surprisingly, you can get quite far in a small amount of time. So trying to get this brush kind of flat so I can paint these small details here. And I'm using this because the shadows I do are a bit too strong. Okay. Okay, so now we have to do this part here, which is like the top of the roof, the front of the roof. Hello. So I'm still using the same colors that I have on my palette. If you can see, I don't know, like this is like starting to get messy. So I guess I'll just use a tissue or something to clean it out and start afresh. With a ceramic palette like this, you can do it really easily. Just put in some water and you can clean it up really fast. This is one of the things why I like to use these. And now let's try to mix a color that it will be good, sorry, for the main part of the wall. So I'll use a bit of yellow ochre as the base color, but I want to make it a bit more dark and intensive, so I'll try to add the Van Dyke brown to it. see how it works. It's kind of okay. I would like to make it more reddish, so a bit more red brown maybe. Okay, and let's put some Van Dyke brown here on the side to make nice variations of the color, and I'll add a bit here of the reddish blue, so ultramarine light, and a bit of red to prepare myself. This will be the main color, so I can take a lot of color from here, but I also want to have some other shades here mixed in, so I can really quickly make small color variations for the main part, because as you can see on the reference file, it has small tiles here, so I don't want to just paint this part in flat color, but I want to make something that looks like the tiles. So we will start with this base color. I will add a bit of ultramarine to it to kill the color a bit because it's too saturated. Okay, and let's start painting, but we will try to make these tiles, and they are not regular, so they're like this random pattern of tiles and stuff here, and I'm picking a bit different color, a bit brighter, and I'm going all along the wall, trying to make each of the tiles thick enough so it looks kind of natural. And I'll make a bit darker color maybe. Okay. So if I would like to paint these spaces between the tiles right now, the colors would just mix and nothing would stay in its place. So I have to wait until this one wash is dry, so I can add a bit more different colored tiles between. Okay, if you have any questions. The size of the brush, the number of the brush is a bit misleading because different brands can have different numbers for the different sizes. Okay, something like this, and I'll just paint between the leaves here until I hit the ground, like here. Okay, and let's try to do something similar on the left side here. I'm using a bit side of the brush so I can paint the tiles in one more flat stroke. This is why I like synthetic brushes, because they give me this more round shape of the brush tip. With a natural hair brush, the tip is really sharp and it's a bit harder to do this style of painting. Okay, and yeah, when it's still drying out, let's add some shadow here to the right side. I'll mix a bit of ultramarine and the red brown to make a nice shadow color, and a bit of cerulean blue to make it less saturated, and more water, yeah, something like this. And we can paint this part here. Okay, so what's left is the shadows under the letters here, and when this part is dry I can paint some more tiles between the tiles that I already did. So first let's paint the shadows because we can. For this I'll take a smaller brush. This is number, I don't know, probably 6. The number is faded from the brush. Okay, so I'm mixing a shadow color. To this mix I added a bit of the Van Dyke brown to make it more darker and kind of blacker. Okay, maybe too much. Let's add a bit of this. Yeah, this is a nice kind of neutral gray can use, I guess. Okay, so the light is coming from here, so the shadow should be around this part. I'm making it quite dark so the letters are visible. Something like this. Okay, and let's dry this part out. And let's paint the rest of the tiles. I'll use a darker color here so we can have a bit of variation in the tiles, maybe not so dark. Thank you for staying up late. Sorry, the time difference thing is really a problem I cannot get around. More of the color. Okay, so that's the base colors done. I still have to add a bit of shadow underneath the roof thing, but mostly the main part is okay. So let's dry this thing entirely, and I'll add just some small details here and there, like this part here and these parts here. Okay, some shadow here. Let's dry this thing. Okay, I will add some shadow here because it looks just too flat for me. Okay, and now I want to add shadows, the last kind of shadows here and here, so we can see that it's kind of three-dimensional. I'll try to mix a nice shadow color, so I'll use a bit of cerulean blue and the ultramarine, and add a bit of the red brown. Okay, and let's see. Here and here, I'll make the shadow more reddish, so more brown and more ultramarine. Okay. And now this thing is casting shadow onto this part, and here you have to remember that this thing here is a bit in front, so the shadow has to be change the shape on the way. Okay, and also here, like this. Okay, and we can also do a shadow from this pole, but I don't know if it will work well, so I'll probably leave it out. Let's add some shadow here from the plants. I should have a bright spot here. Okay. maybe a shadow from this pipe here. Okay, so I think something like this. This is a bit rough because I did it as fast as I could, but I think it came out okay. On the camera it's a bit washed out, but it's a bit more saturated in real life. I'll scan it later so you can see it in full details. Okay, so here's the reference photo. I didn't paint the poster because it would take a lot of time, but if I was doing this like for a book or something, I would definitely paint a poster on the right wall, but I would change the contents into something different. And because I was using only like 6 colors for this, the mixing is also a bit loose. I would use more saturated blue, for example, here and here probably, but more or less this is what I would do for a painting like this. For a more detailed version, I would do, for example, like small shadow from the pipe things here, so we can see it dropping a shadow here on this part, and shadow from this thing here, and from the cable, and so on. So you can still add a bit of details to the roof, and you can still add a bit of details to the back of the store, I guess, some weathering here and there, and the shadow from this pole. It would be nice to try probably to add a bit of dimensionality here, but I guess for today this is where we will stop. Okay, I guess I'll do a continuation, but I first have to get from you a kind of response, what more you would like to see and what kind of direction a lesson you would like to see. For example, more about like detailing, or more about shadows, or more about perspective, or whatever. So yeah, I would add like small details to the wall, and paint the tiles more accurately probably, and some small shadows here that show that this is actually like kind of 3-dimensional. But this is the trap you go into, like you start adding details and you cannot finish, so okay. So to cap it all, these are the colors that I used today. These are made by Mijello, but you can buy them from any maker probably, except the green gold. Maybe you would have to look for something that's similar, but the other ones are really popular colors that you can buy from any other maker. And the base is the lemon yellow, so a cool yellow, warm yellow like this orange here, cool and warm red, and warm and cool blue. So 6 colors to mix other colors from, and about probably 2-3 earth tones are good for a balanced set. And if you want to use greens a lot, you would probably like to have 2 greens more in a palette like this, to not have to mix it every time. But with simple colors you can paint interesting things like this without any problem. And for the lines I used just a Lamy fountain pen with waterproof ink inside. This is the Sailor Soulboku, I think, blue-black waterproof ink. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this class. I think most of you will watch it after it's been added to the playlist. So if you have any questions about the process here, just ask me and I'll explain it in the next Q&A. And if you have any ideas for next things that you would like me to sketch and do stuff like this, yeah, I will probably do paintings like this from time to time on the Q&A. So yeah, the setup is kind of crazy with all the cameras, but I can do it probably from time to time. Okay, thank you for joining me again. I congratulate the persons who won the books, and please, I will contact you about the addresses and all the details that are necessary for me to send you the books. Okay, that's it. Thank you for joining me. See you next time. And as always, I'm really grateful for your support on Patreon. It's your support there that allows me to do this kind of Q&As, and of course the book, so I can spend a lot of time doing my own work and I don't have to do commissions all the time. So I'm really grateful about your support on Patreon, and I'm happy that I can be of use to you also. Okay, so thanks for joining me today, and have a nice day. Bye.